So welcome back to the Cart Barn. I'm Chris Lemley, joined by Greg Dewalt. Gosh, we've got a really special treat lined up today. Something that was fun to do and exciting. Um, but before we get into that, golf's kind of winding down. It's finally turned cold. The leaves have changed. The last couple of days, I haven't wanted to get outside and hit any balls. It's been cold and windy. But you, on the other hand, Greg, excuse me, you had a little golf trip down to Florida. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I got invited down to a place called Hammock Beach, which is near St. Augustine on the Atlantic side, and really nice resort. Two great golf courses: the Conservatory and the Ocean Course. One's a Watson design, and it was fun. It was in the 80s down there, and then I got home, got off the plane in Huntsville, and got hit with about a 45-degree temperature and wind blowing about 15 or 20. So it was a dose of reality coming back from Florida, but it was a great time. It's a really good resort, and I'll be writing a little bit about it on AlabamaGolfNews.com in the coming weeks. But
Excellent.
it was a good trip. But now, yeah, like you say, reality's hit in. We're not going to be out there be able to play every day if we so desire. We'll have to pick and choose.
Well, I desire, but that's just not going to happen.
Is there a temperature you won't play below?
Yeah, we've kind of touched about it. If there's any wind, it's got to be a pretty much warmer day. But if it's no wind, 45 to 50 is okay. But it gets colder than that. I have to put too many clothes on. It's just not any fun.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think too, the sun kind of needs to be out too for me, just to make it a little warmer. But I'm like you, 45 to 50, no wind. I can deal with it. And depending on the golf course, I mean, if you get invited to play someplace like the Ledges or Canebrake or Greystone down in Birmingham, and it's 50 degrees and maybe a little overcast or blowing, you're going to take advantage of those opportunities. So just got to pick and choose. Let's let's talk a little bit about this week. Got one regular guest returning, Stewart Cink, our semi-regular PGA Tour pro, who's apparently he likes us because he keeps coming on.
Well, we like having him, and it's always fun. But yeah, um, it's a good podcast, and I think the people are going to enjoy it. He's joined by Chad Parker. Tell us a little bit more about Chad.
Chad and Stewart are lifelong friends. They worked at the Cart Barn, ironically, at Florence Country Club, and took different paths to where they're at now. Stewart, obviously, PGA Tour winner, went one way. Chad went to Mississippi State with the golf program there. Got on at Eastlake as assistant pro, shop guy, really, and worked his way up to where now he's the president of Eastlake Golf Club in Atlanta, where they host the Tour Championship every year. And he's going to tell us a little bit about how he got into that end of it, and then they're going to hit us with some cooking. I'll let you expound on that.
Well, yeah, we thought this would be something fun and something different to kind of talk about. This podcast will be coming out the day before Thanksgiving. So, you have your turkey and whatever on tomorrow. But if you want to do something over the weekend a little different, Stuart and Chad are going to talk a little barbecue. We did have a little audio problem with Chad. So, some of that may not be published, but Stuart did a marvelous job in kind of covering up for that. So, just letting you know. But it was a really fun podcast. It was something fun to do. They both seemed to enjoy it, and I think you're going to enjoy it too.
So, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Cart Barn. Today, we're excited to bring Chad Parker and Stewart Cink to the podcast. Guys, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Thank you. I feel at home in the car.
Well, you feel at home in the Cart Barn. Well, absolutely. I mean, in one of the podcasts that Stewart was on, he documented how you and he spent a lot of time in the Cart Barn and had a lot of mischievous episodes growing up at Florence Country Club.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit, if you want to set the record straight on any embellishments, go ahead. And I understand you're in Florence today, so that's great.
I am in Florence, here with my dad. He had surgery last week, so just trying to help out, and he's doing good. So, yeah, growing up in Florence was a wonderful time, and the thing that I'll always remember about that was just how much Chris Burns instilled just a competition type mindset. We didn't have a driving range, we didn't have a chipping area, we didn't have much in terms of practicing, but what we did have was, a competitive environment to play golf. And it just always, I think that's a great thing about golf. And Chris was always great about, I never remember him talking a lot about technique, or certainly swing playing never came out of his mouth that I can remember. But competing and trying to get better, was something that he really relished. So it was a great place to grow up. And I will choose not to refute anything that Stewart said about the cart barn earlier, because it's probably true.
And Chad, I think you went to Coffee and Stewart went to Bradshaw. Would you guys have been friends had you not been working or playing out at Florence Country Club?
That's a good question.
I think we would have, because I was also friends with a lot of Chad's friends from Coffee, and I think vice versa. So the schools were, they were both considered to be large schools back then, but by today's standards, they were small.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I remember that too. Lisa.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, I mean, they're well, Chad, how did you end up at Coffee? Because I think it was like your choice to go whether to go to Bradshaw or Coffee when you hit ninth grade or seventh grade or something.
Yeah, my recollection is that most people that went to Forest Hills went to Bradshaw, and most people that went to Hibbett, went to Coffee, is my recollection. But I think you did have a choice, and I don't remember.
Just talking about how you guys kind of met and who was beating who when y'all first started playing.
I think you know the answer to that, Greg.
I don't know. You played pretty well, didn't you?
Yeah, we used to have some good battles. I like to think that I pushed him along to greater heights, and ever since then I've been at the basement, basically, of the playing category.
Well, you're not alone on this podcast. I was playing in college and he was beating me. So
I told somebody the other day.
I think it was Stewart saw there was two ways to go. He could play, or he could push pencils behind a desk. And
yeah,
he liked playing better than being behind the desk running a big fancy club.
Yeah. I think you're right, Greg.
We should mention here that you're like the grand poobah of Eastlake Country Club in Atlanta, which is, it's a little better than the old Sky Park out in Florence used to be, but not a ton better, because we called Sky Park Augusta on the Hill.
Yeah, we played our high school matches there. I learned how to clip a ball off clover like nobody can really teach you that.
How many times did you hit in the parking lot on 9?
Oh boy, I think I blocked that out. I usually hit it right there and made a safe bogey. Take double out of play.
Since that was kind of our segue into what you're actually doing at Eastlake, and what your position is, and how you kind of rose to that position, Chad.
Yeah, well, I've been there just over 28 years now. I love working for the Cousins family, and I love the mission of the club. And I'm president, general manager now. I started as an assistant golf professional back in '96, and kind of worked my way through the ranks. It's been a great ride. I just love being there. It's just finished a massive renovation project. I'm really happy that that's over. Excited for the next chapter of Eastlake. And we got a lot of really good things going on. And obviously we held the tour championship, my 24th one this past year. Then we have Eastlake Cup, which is a made for TV college event. Has male and female teams. It's fantastic. It's so much fun to host that, and to see the kids come out, and they like to compete and see the locker rooms, and they're all really, really good players. And so it's a blessing to be where I've been for that long. And, I just thankful to the Cousins family and everyone associated with it. We've got a really good team.
When he started there in '96, did you call begging to get on, or say, "Hey, can you?" How did that go?
The timing would suggest such a phone call existed, but there are no records. So, no, the guy that was basically in Chad's role at that time, they were just about to wrap up the renovation back in they renovated 94, 95, I think, around that time frame. And it was about the same time I was graduating from college. And so they were interested in having a touring professional represent Eastlake that had a Georgia Tech tie too, because of Bobby Jones's connection with Eastlake. So I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, literally. I just was graduating from Tech. I was about to become a touring professional. I didn't know if I was going to become a PGA Tour professional. That's why I carefully used the word touring, because there's a lot of golfers that can play golf, but they end up touring for a long time and they never get to the PGA Tour. So, but that Jim Gerber was his name. He was running the club at the time, and he reached out and just said, "Hey, would you be interested in representing our club and carrying on the Bobby Jones Georgia legacy here?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" We played there a lot during college. Two renovations ago, Eastlake was way different than it is now, for sure. It was in a sort of a difficult part of town, and the golf course was good, but there was not very much in the way of facilities. It wasn't high quality conditioning. It was just it had run down pretty bad. And so when the Cousins family came in, and the story is fabulous. It's for like a two or three podcast discussion, probably about just that. But it turned into this amazing facility, and yeah, I was just fortunate to become part of it too, in a way.
That's really cool. Who just did the renovation? Was that Green?
Yeah, Andrew Green.
Yeah,
Who
and
was
he's pretty hot right now on the.
He is, yeah. We got him at a really good time. He right before he debuted Congressional. We hired him, and then I got good reviews. And of course, Oak Hill really kind of accelerated that. And now he's all over the place. But he was the right person. I mean, Stewart was kind enough to spend some time with him, as we were going through and thinking through, basically every angle we possibly could. And he's just such a humble guy, really knowledgeable. Likes to get his hands dirty. He's my kind of guy. He likes to get on the tractor, and he built every single grain himself. Before they poured it out and finished it, he built it in the dirt, the kind of the old fashioned way, which was fascinating process to watch. When he was talking about how balls would be receptive in hole locations, before we have a blade of grass, it was just a fascinating thing to go through. And it was a fascinating. I learned a ton going through it. Very stressful. We had a hard stop. We had a tour championship, so it was stressful at times. But yeah, he did a great job with it.
Well, I know a good friend of mine. He's in a club up in New Jersey, Laurel Creek, and he redid it. And I think he's also do Shoal Creek this coming year. Yeah. So yeah, he's a real hot commodity from a redesign standpoint. One of the most fascinating things I thought, even though I haven't been on the property, just watching it from the Tour Championship perspective and the Eastlake Cup, is the driving range has kind of changed
dramatically. That was actually the most complicated part of the whole project, from an engineering standpoint. It took us, I think, almost the better part of 2 years to get a permit to do it. And we had to replicate the acreage that we filled in, at other places. We basically had to give it back to the lake, which we did mainly on hole 8 and hole 15, but a little bit on hole 9 too. But just going through that process, it seemed like it would be fairly straightforward, and it was anything but that. It was incredibly expensive and just highly regulated, which I just didn't know how that would work. I'm glad we did it. Stewart in my opinion, the driving range, if everything at Eastlake was at least a 7 or 8 or more, the driving range was a 1 or 2, and it was never going to be more than that if we didn't fill in the lake. So it feels weird hitting balls down there now. It really does. But it's we tripled the size of our range tee, and now we have Pro Vs on the range, and we'll say, probably 40 to 60 grand a year on range balls alone, just filling that lake in.
Right. Stewart, how do you feel like the renovations came out?
I think it's amazing. I've only played it 2 times so far, but it's fun to play. There's just so much variety. I wasn't a huge fan of the course before this one, so I just think it was a golf course before where the greens all sloped at you back to front, and if you missed one way or the other, you had a big shot out of either rough or a bunker. And now I've played there twice, and I've missed my share of greens for sure, and I think I've only chipped out of the rough maybe one time in 2 rounds. So your ball catches the edges and it just rolls. It's very in a way, it plays a little bit Pinehurst-like because the greens are very firm right now, and the ball gets away off the fringe, and distance to the hole becomes an issue on your short game shot.
Yeah,
because it'll get away from you, and you have a lot of options. You can putt, you can chip, you can bounce it through. The turf is amazing. You would not believe that the course just reopened. The turf is just so pristine.
Oh, wow. It looked really well on TV. You were working with Andy or consulting with him on some of the things about the golf course. Give you any ideas about doing any course design work?
No, I mean, I think for everybody who's ever got a golf ball in the air, it's kind of an interest. But I didn't consult with Andrew Green. I went out to meet with him because I was curious, and I just was also been fascinated by the whole project, the way it worked. Okay. And I wanted to hear what he was thinking. And I mean, I barely made any suggestions. I just sort of took it all in and visited a handful of times during the project and watched the how it all unfolded. But I think, like Chad, I was mostly fascinated by Andrew's vision by being able to point out a piece of land and look out there, 60 or 70 yards down there and say, "You see how that rolls off?" And I'd be like, "Nope, I sure don't." And he would describe it 4 or 5% here, 3% there, and then I couldn't see anything but flat dirt.
Yeah.
And then when it got down and suddenly off shot onto that area, you can see everything he described. It was all there, but we can't see it until it's graph on.
Yeah, that is an accurate statement and fair assessment of how I felt too. It was a lot of Georgia clay for a lot of months, and a little very concerning, just knowing what we had coming. But once we got some sod down in the fall and actually into the kind of early winter on the back nine, or I'm sorry, on the front nine, you could see it. Andrew used to send us text pictures, or he would take a picture of a fairway, and he would draw on it with his iPad, and he would say, "I'm thinking about doing, this here. What do you think?" And then if we kind of liked it, he would just send that to the guy shaping, and next thing you know, it's there in stunning, accuracy. But the vision, to Stewart's point, it was just something that, you either have it or you don't. And he definitely has the vision, but also has the chops to actually, build it. It's a unique combination, and terribly humble guy. Just can't say enough good things about him in our experience with him. Excited for what he's going to do at Shoal, to be honest. I think there's a wonderful opportunity there, especially with the tornado that went through and kind of wiped out between 4, 5, 6, that area, that creek down through there. We've had the guys from Shoal over to talk through how we, kind of went about the process and really, the logistical things that you have to think about, where you're going to stockpile sand and gravel and greens mix and all the stuff, and how we did that, and how, I think that was what they were really curious about, because it's a massive project and there's a lot of trucks coming in and out. So, but we offered to stay in touch with them and help the best that we could, because got a lot of respect for Shoal Creek and everything that place means especially to the state of Alabama and golf in Alabama.
So did you sign the final check to pay for that renovation, and how many zeros were in it?
There's a lot of zeros, and I think we have finished paying. If there's a consultant out there that we haven't paid, I dare you to come forward. I got to get
That's
therapy
fun.
on my wrist, Greg. I've signed so many checks. It was a big number. It was $30 million. That's what we spent.
Wow. And
But the driving range piece of it was a significant part of that, or not a significant part, but it was a part that a normal course wouldn't have had to deal with. Just the water issue and dredging the lakes added a lot of cost, and just complications, permit fees, consultants, etc. just added a lot. But we had to do it. We had to do it.
that's a pretty good membership assessment fee, right? At the end of the year?
Well, I think it's been stated publicly, we did not assess the members. We're owned by a nonprofit, and so the members were actually able to give a donation that was earmarked, and so we basically asked for donations versus assessment and raised a significant amount, way more than we would have gotten if we would assessed. So that was and we've never assessed the members before. It's always been paid for by the Cousins family. So, so we had 193 members donate to that fund. It was just very, very well received. And then we've got a plan to kind of pay off the rest. So it's, I'm happy it's over. No more fundraising, no more red clay, just golf now for a while, hopefully.
I don't think you would have gotten that many donations from the Florence Country Club membership.
We would have been a little short. Yeah. No doubt.
Can you imagine what million would have done to Florence Country Club? Like, we could have shined that baby up.
Oh man. Maybe even put in the driving range.
Sonny Broadway was not reaching into his wallet to give money for that, though.
Well, Stewart and I used to get tips and beer. I mean, they were too cheap to tip us in dollars. They were whatever's left in the cooler is what we got.
Chad, we call that barter.
Which was fine for us. I mean, we were not of age yet. So that was a good trade.
Yeah. So what, now that I think one of the cool things about Eastlake is the history in the clubhouse. I mean, the last time I was over and played, I mean, you could literally spend the whole day in there just looking around. It's an incredible collection you guys have over there. When visitors come over, what do they say about that?
I think that, what we try to do is let you experience it kind of on your own. There is, the clubhouse, or at least the main part of the clubhouse has been there since the late 20s. And so we hope that it feels that way when you come in. And when we actually are still very active in trying to acquire artifacts. We did a partnership with Arnold Palmer's estate after he passed to house a lot of his Ryder Cup memorabilia. He was the last plane captain when the club hosted it in 1963. And so I met his daughter, Amy, and through a member of ours, and over a couple of years, now we have a lot of his memorabilia, including his money clips, his rings. We have his Bob Jones Award in that room. So we created a new room and had someone curate it. So we're actively trying to capture it and add to the mystique. One of the things that I really want to get done is get a USAM, our women's USAM trophy, Alexa Sterling, who preceded Bobby Jones in prominence. She won the national the ladies am 3 times before 1925. In my view is that she was probably kicking his butt, as he was up and coming as a good player. And I think that really propelled him to the run that he had, from 23 to 1930, because, he wasn't the best player at the club before that. She was. And so I'd love to have that trophy. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that trophy. It's gorgeous. It's the prettiest trophy, I think, in professional golf. And it's really ornate, it's beautiful. So we're trying to add to that, Greg, to your point, and it's something that we just hope you feel it when you come out. You can't manufacture that kind of thing, The great thing about golf, you go to all these places and it has a feeling. The golf course has a feeling. You have a feeling about how you played there, and that's just part of what you feel when you come to Eastlake. It's history.
Yeah, but it's a great. I mean, it's a great museum almost. I guess is the best way to describe it.
It's a unique feeling for sure. It kind of reminds me a little bit with Marion. Has a little feel of that. It's just there's so much memorabilia and older stuff there, and so going in the clubhouse and looking at that at Eastlake's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, Chris, this podcast episode was so rich and full of information that we're going to break it into two. This is going to conclude the first part.
Yeah, part two will pick up with the transition into barbecue. Stewart will share a recipe or two and talk about Chad, and Mike Litnick created a barbecue competition team that they named Q School. Really cute play on words.
It really is.
That's
We
right.
hope that y'all enjoyed part one of this episode with Stewart Cink and Chad Parker. Chris and I wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving, and check back after the holiday and we'll have part two up ready to go.